Hey, what's going on?
How you doing?
Chilling, man. So look, I'm gonna just keep it simple.
Uh,
I just want to ask a question first. What would you say, put you in this standpoint, where you kind of don't believe, but you are open to seeing why people believe?
well, I'm interested in the societal impacts of metaphysical ideas and religious institutions.
Mm. Okay, so it's not really like looking for God. You're just interested in hearing, people's stories.
Well, yeah, I'm interested in hearing people's stories on a human level. Like, if I'm gonna speak
Okay.
to a human, then I want to validate their experience as a human. But it
Uh-huh.
is at the same time an exchange of ideas. I have a view,
Mm.
you have a view, and like
Uh-huh.
we want to come to a consensus if we can. If we can't, I'm okay with that as well.
Yeah. Well, definitely, I'm not as, informed and educated as the last dude. It sounds like he definitely, keeps his nose in the books and everything. But I can say, I've studied a good amount, my young years. Definitely the Bible and the Quran. I haven't touched the Torah yet. And I can see why it's confusing to people, because you get told this, you get told that, then you don't, you told you can't do this, but then over here you could do this. It's very confusing. And the reason why I believe in a God is because, I was 3 years old. We didn't go to church. Not that, my family were atheists, but they just weren't the biggest, believers, right? And I just always remember, at 3 years old, I just would go crying to my mom, like, Mom, I'm telling you, I'm getting these dreams and these like visions, like God wants me to tell people something. And she's like, what are you talking about? You're 3 years old. You know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? You're
Yeah,
three.
any parent would be saying that.
Right. And I just would have those moments a lot growing up. And that was my biggest confirmation for myself, that there
I
has
mean,
to be some type of higher conscious.
just based off saying that, like I think there's some deep seated indoctrination there that needs unpacking.
Mm.
Because to
So
be
in your
able
opinion, yeah, you can elaborate.
to make those kinds of claims at 3 years old means you're heavily being influenced by your environment. Something
Yeah.
external is happening
Well,
there.
that's why I emphasize too, we didn't go to church growing up. My family weren't like talking about
That
God every
that's not
day and
necessarily the case though. Like you don't have to be
okay.
in church to hold those kinds of views. Like the
Right.
church is the institution, like the physical representation of the institution, but people in culture walk around espousing ideas of religion all the time. You may have like a family member who's always like, I swear to God, God this, like God that, and God this, like
Yeah.
these kinds of things seep into us culturally.
Mhm.
So it doesn't have to be explicitly you go to church and you learn how to be a priest. It's like no, like
Yeah.
styles of speaking inform us as well. Like
Mm.
like how people say Martin Luther King had his like Martin Luther King was in his 20s, right?
Yeah.
But he spoke like an old man, like an old preacher,
Right.
because of the style of the talking. All of those things are included in the indoctrination that we pick up.
Okay. I see
You
what
know?
you're saying. That makes sense. Even a little bit of influence could influence me even at that young,
Yeah,
to
for
have
sure.
those type of yeah, I get what you're
Because
saying. And
you're a
it's
sponge as a
totally
baby. Like you can't,
yeah.
like even the language you're using, the words that you learn them from humans, other humans.
Right, right. But yeah, like the whole humans created God, to me, I do understand, that argument, the other side, because, some people really do, they just they just believe a big bang and whatever, somebody just one day thought, hey, there has to be a higher God or a higher consciousness because of all these good things or all these bad things happening. But when you just look back, you know, into history, it amazes me how there seems to be a consistent amount of people that were just born with this, how do I say it? I'm just say feeling for a lack of a better term, but just this feeling to tell other people, hey, there's something that exists that's more important than us. And although you can't be perfect and can't perfectly do what he asked, you have to try, or you
Well,
have to at least want it in your heart. You know what I
I
mean?
think you're saying two things, right?
Hmm.
Like the explanation for humans in history that have had this view about there being something higher than us, that is kind of
Yeah.
explained well very well through like psychology, through history, even you got like a guy called Robert Sapolsky. He talks about the psychology of religion, and he even touches on the genetics that are selected for things which we would consider where people become shamans and prophets and stuff. Like that can be actually explained on a genetic level as well. But when you added the like he wants me to tell you XYZ, now you're talking about a direct cultural invention, a version of that. Right? So no one can be born having that direct cultural information, that background information. You need to be told about that specific. For instance, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, even when you look at the prophets, none of them were actually born with, their information. It's almost as something like they received. It was something that finally
you have
one
to
day they were
build
able to obtain.
You have to build
exactly,
that.
yeah.
But
So
through
I
through
definitely
religious
agree with what
texts,
you're
through
saying.
religious texts, we call that revelation, right? The reality is, like, for someone who's deep in philosophy or something like that, it could just be that they was working through a problem consistently and they had a eureka moment, which would be considered enlightenment. Like, some people view those prophets and like various great thinkers throughout history just as enlightened people. But through a religious context, we mystify it and say, oh, there's something beyond that's giving them this information. When really it was probably a culmination of their senses taking in information and reasoning, and whether they were right or wrong. So I do agree that there's humans throughout history that have arrived at this view about there must be a higher power, but the specific versions of that higher power speaks to the invention of it.
Right. Especially with the version thing, like what I want to touch on, and it doesn't necessarily answer the prompt, but it maybe can get you to understand my standpoint
Sure.
on how I view God. What I've come to understand is everybody is right, but everybody's wrong as well. You know what I mean? Everybody has to get back to the basics. All this complication of who's right and who's wrong, at the end of the day, it's just going to create that separation that everybody, you see what's happening now with the wars and everything, right?
Sure.
Because everybody can say it's about this, it's about that, but at the end of the day, we know it's oil and religion. At the end of the day. Let's be real,
That's real coming from someone who believes in God. I mean, I'll give you that. To at
real,
least be able to acknowledge that is good.
Yeah, I know. And so something that I've come to understand is, the prophets. So I in a way, like I took some of the things that Islam says, right? Like, for example, we shouldn't be worshiping a human, although yes, they've done amazing things, but they only did those amazing things because God allowed them to do it. That was God's power at the end of the day. And so I feel,
that's one interpretation.
When people introduced, hey, worship this person, whether it's Moses, whether it's Jesus, whether it's you want to worship
Whether it's
Noah, the
Muhammad.
saints, whatever. When you don't directly worship
Whether
the
it's
creator,
Muhammad, there's that one slide for us, yeah.
you saw what?
Whether it's Muhammad also.
Oh, Muhammad, yeah, like whichever.
Yeah.
When you go to worship one of the humans and you don't worship the creator directly, that's when all the confusion happens. Even when you look back
That's an idea.
in the past. No, that's an idea, but if you look in the past, like look at the tribal people, look at our ancestors, everybody believed in a creator. For me, I'm African, Puerto Rican.
That's an
right?
assertion. We don't actually know if that's true.
Well, this is what I'm gonna tell you, like from what I know, right? I'm African and I'm Puerto Rican. So on my Puerto Rican side, we're called Taino, which means we were like the original Puerto Ricans.
Tainos?
Yeah, Tainos.
Tainos
So
are like they're the originals in the West Indies as well. Like some of my ancestry.
yeah, it was a whole area. It was a whole area, but Puerto Rico was one of those areas, right?
Okay, I don't know.
And so, if you look, basically when I started,
it's the West. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, it's the Americas.
No, you're good.
It's goofy.
So when I started researching, my ancestors and everything, I found it very interesting that their beliefs is, hey, there's a creator. You could understand there were great men, but they even knew from the beginning, without Christopher Columbus and all them other people coming and telling them what it is and look at this white man. They knew, hey, it was a creator. And now all the past people, of course, they knew, and of course they all have their own ideas and their own, beliefs or whatever. But at the end of the day, when you look at our ancestors, the tribal people, the people that lived off the earth, they always knew
I agree,
It's a
but
creator.
I think what the mistake in what you're saying is grammatical. To say that they knew there was a
Mm-hmm.
creator is wrong. To say they believed in a creator is correct.
Mm.
But that speaks to what I'm saying about the invention of God. That need to create a creator is a very human thing. So it correlates to different regions and different civilizations
Mm-hmm.
throughout history. That speaks to human needs, and unlike something built-in mechanisms like the hyperactive agency detection device, it's a cognitive theory that suggests humans have a survival mechanism that assigns agency to things. So that is like the foundation for God beliefs across the world. So that gives you the spectrum, and then the culture builds it up. The cultural context builds that idea. You know?
So, what you're saying is you believe that, for example, we're just gonna use examples. I use examples a lot.
Yeah.
This native killed this deer. You believe the human mind said, "Oh my God, I was able to get this meat," and so there has to be some type of like God or something, right? Like that's what you're basically saying, right?
No, but that's an element to it, because
Okay.
from what I understand, a lot of those native cultures of the past, they subscribe to one of the oldest systems called animism, which is
Mm-hmm.
like the spirits of animals, the spirits of plant
Yep.
life, the spirits of
Mm-hmm.
ancestors. So their interaction with the earth and hunting, to them, they may have viewed it in a spiritual way, in a spiritual context of we're given something and we're taking something. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So they may have viewed it in that way, but I just don't reduce it to that kind of I'm able to hunt, therefore there's a God.
Mm.
You know, I can't reduce it to so simply like that.
I feel humans definitely have. They didn't create God, right? But they create their own versions of God that they want.
I hold
You know
that
what I mean?
I hold that view, but I do think they created God because there's no evidence of it without us. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I'm not sure how many people have come on the live and talked to you, but another great way, and it might be something so small, but that's the beauty of, in my opinion, God, the creator. Like you have to
Uh-huh.
look at the small things. You can't look at the biggest things because he's waiting to show us those really big things, and it's scary to some people,
That's a belief,
but
but I can see what you're saying.
yeah, of course. Yeah, I understand it's a belief. I'm gonna speak on like my belief. I'm not trying to like impose it or anything, but
Sure.
like look at the small things. Like look at the fact that a bird can fly.
Yeah.
Look at the fact that a bee can fly. A bee proportionally should
Yeah,
not
I
be
know.
able to.
I know.
You know?
There are
so-
different types of bees though. People often forget that there are different types of bees. But
Yeah.
it's like not all bees are bumblebees, but yeah.
Right. But you get the concept. Sometimes we
Yeah.
have to see, the smaller things, like the fact that this is able to do this, or the fact that this is here now. There's no way that we weren't given this by somebody or something.
No, right. See,
You know what I'm trying to
that's where I disagree, right? No, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's absolutely reasonable for us to be in awe of the world, right? Just be like, wow, this is like
Yeah.
low key amazing. Like, look at the birds, look at the bees, look at the trees, right? And just be
The
awestruck.
ocean itself. Like,
Yeah, like how vast everything is and how small things can be, like microscopic on the microscopic level. Those things should like leave us in awe. But to immediately draw the conclusion that because this thing is amazing, somebody had to make it and give it to me to experience is a very human point of view. It doesn't necessarily speak to the reality. It speaks to how we are framing reality. And not every one of us frames reality like that. Some of us say, you know what, the bee is amazing. Let me study it and figure out why it does what it does. Some people like the ocean is amazing. Let me actually let me interact with it and figure out why it does what it does. Other people are just like, no, like the ocean is amazing, and it's amazing because this magic person made it so, and this magic person wants me to feel its magic. That's kind
I don't agree
problematic,
with
you
that.
know.
Yeah, no, I don't agree with that standpoint either, though. I believe God did create things for us to want to study and wonder and not necessarily always tie it to his existence. Even though he wants us to be conscious of his existence,
Yeah.
he doesn't want, I don't believe he wants us to always just be like, chalk it up to, hey, well, that's God.
Yeah,
He
but
wants us to be intuitive. He wants us to be, just students of the game, students of life. And
that
that's why I
that could be
believe
true.
He's
Though.
always put intricate, that's why I feel like he's always put intricate things into everything. Like look at a tree. Some people will look at a tree and be like, oh, that's just a tree. But then you have
Yeah.
to remember there's thousands of things working inside of that tree just to keep it standing there.
Exactly,
You know?
but that intricacy doesn't necessarily speak to someone with intention, though. That's the problem.
Right.
What's at the base of what you're saying is God created it, and then God let us be in awe of it because He wants us to. But you're not addressing the, all right, so if there's a God, what is the God, and how does it do what it does, right? For me to be convinced that there is one. That is what's at the base of it.
So you want to know, to rephrase, like, you just want to know, what does He do for you to be able to believe?
No, we need to know what it is, right? And how it exists distinctively from us. And then once we figure out what it is, then we can start asking, all right, how does it do what it does to be convinced that it can do anything?
Okay.
Because we shouldn't just start out supposing that this thing exists. And like existing in so many weird formats for different people, and then saying, oh, you know, my version of it does this, my version of it does that, my version of it is this, you know. That doesn't give us anywhere to work from. It just leaves us making assumptions, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, let me ask you this. In your life, right? What is one of the biggest coincidences you feel like, you know, it was just like, some people would say it's a blessing, some people would say it's a coincidence, some people would say, you know, it was a reward. What would you say was like a big coincidence that probably you've never forgotten about?
I can't really point to specific ones, but I would say I experience what might be considered like synchronicity often. You know, just like things work out very well, or just things just turn out good, or you know, like just unexpectedly.
Yeah.
But I don't have like one of those minds that just like keep track of things like that. Just in general.
Right.
I'm just not that kind of way.
Well, in a funny way, you know, since we're gonna get away from the coincidences, I was hoping like maybe you had a really great experience, or maybe it could have been something bad too, you know, and I could have found a way to show you how you worked in there, you know.
Yeah, I get exactly what you're saying, right? How we could interpret my experience through the lens of God's work, right? I understand that.
Right.
Of course.
Right.
But
So,
the same thing could be said about anything, though. That's what makes it problematic.
So the thing about this domain that we're in, this domain expansion. No, I'm like,
Oh, you know game, right? Bro knows ball.
I know ball.
Bro knows
That
ball.
Orochimaru ball.
Oh, you heard that, yeah?
Orochimaru
Alright then, see?
But the thing about this domain is that, you know, we are also given completely 100% free will. We are one of the, in my belief, right?
So yeah, that's contentious as well.
We are one of the very few, as far as I know, few, you know, creations that were given this free will. You know, in beliefs period, when you believe in God, you believe in angels, right? Angels, they don't get free will, but they're okay with that, you know?
Are
Now,
they?
we were given
Look at
free
Satan.
well, that's the thing. So,
I'm joking.
no, of course. So that's why I said when I studied Islam, I had to take some of their things because, of course, at first, growing up Christian, you're like, whoa, Muslim, Islam, like, no way. You know, of course, my mom always put that in my head, too. So, but I studied because I need to be my own person, my own individual, right?
Yeah,
so that's
fair.
what I mean by, like, we do have to study all the books.
No,
and in
we
my
don't.
opinion,
we don't.
well, no, you don't have to,
No,
but
you
if
don't.
you want to.
Yeah,
if
you can
want,
choose to.
Let me say that. Yeah. If you want to get into God, I'm speaking in that point of view as well. So if you hear me say something like that in the future, just know it's if you want to.
Yeah,
then
sure.
I believe you should look into all the scripture because everybody's right and everybody's wrong. So I'm saying this to say, I don't know if you know what a jinn is, right?
Yeah, it's
but
like a
that's
ghost.
the separation. Exactly. So that's the separation between what Satan is and an angel. That's why Satan was able to actually break away and like just because it wasn't I tried to take his throne like
That's
Christians
like a
say.
but that's based on a story though. So I don't like to go into the intricacies of what a story says unless we're just being metaphorical, you know.
Yeah.
Because
But I'm just
I just
saying,
take it to be a story.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying this to say real quick. That's why he was able to break, you know, whatever God told him to do, and then that's why he got banished because you disobeyed me in heaven.
Sure.
Now, those jinn are given free will. Angels aren't given free will. So when I'm saying this to say, in this domain, we have the free will to be able to, okay, like you say, I'm gonna look at this tree and look at the intricacies and look at the mathematics of this tree and the science, you know, and all this whatever, and I'm gonna just say it's this. Or you can say, I'm gonna look at all the intricacies of this tree, da da da, and I'm gonna say God's amazing for the fact that He created this and had the intent to put all this in this creation. You get what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
well, you
So
think
with
that's
the
the
free
case,
will,
but the problem is the
mhm,
free will part of it. Under a like a religious paradigm, you can't really have a free will in that kind of way. You know?
what you
Even
mean? You're saying like you can't have free will because there's rules?
no, not just because there's rules, right? You have to consider it from like a, if I can call it an internal critique. So we're gonna say there's an all-powerful entity, not just the fact that he's
Mm,
all-knowing, like even if he's all-love and his nature is good, whatever. He's just superior to us in every way. Okay,
yeah.
so he's also responsible for our creation. So since we're an expression of its will, right, its will always override our will. You know, like religious people say, it wasn't my will, it was God's will.
Mm,
Right? So from that point of view, you don't actually have free will. And one of like the meta jokes about it is you didn't even have the free will to reject free will. If someone could bestow free will on you, then you don't have free will, right? Which is like a meta joke, right? But
mm.
from that point of
I
view, you
get,
could just say, hey, you know, like maybe just God wants us to go roam around experiencing things, and we can perceive that as having free will. But
mm,
ultimately, you could like resign yourself to fate and be like, hey, well, if I decide to believe in God, then I don't need to worry about good and evil anymore because everything that's going to happen is because God wants it to happen. So I'm already signed out of the game. Don't worry about it. Or you can like try and reconcile that. But me personally, I think free will is introduced to these religions as a form of apologetics to smoothen out the problems in it.
you think so? Okay.
Yeah,
I could definitely respect it. I'm definitely learning some things from you too because we're humans, we're one, but we're on two different sides when it comes to this, right?
sure.
Now the thing about free will, I I really do understand that opinion and that belief, but I can't get behind it. Because the whole thing of free will is, you know, for example, look at me. I'm choosing freely, of course, I'm choosing to chase him. Whereas there's other people that's choosing freely to not do so. And so free will, we should look at free will maybe in the lens of, okay, because of course we can do whatever we want. Like
But we can't though.
you can say it's fate, but the thing is, fate isn't ever truly written. You know, I do believe in like a multiverse, if you will. Every decision creates another, what I'm saying, chain of reactions, right? Or chain of events. But if you chose this instead of this, like if you chose yes instead of no, you would have got all of these things, right? And so fate,
Maybe yeah, maybe. I think we do that to make ourselves feel more comfortable with our lack of control in reality. Even gods or no gods on the table, we play those kinds of mental games about what could have been and what might be if I choose differently. But the reality is we only have control over what's happened. We can't know the counterfactual, meaning we can't know
right?
what would have been. We can only know what is. So from
But
our
you
point of
see,
view, everything
mhm,
is already, you know. And if
no,
you
of
bring a
course.
god into it, it is because it wants it to be that way, and that further reduces your agency in your day to day choices. You know?
Mm. See, with free will and fate, so basically what I was trying to say is fate isn't ever written. You get what I'm saying? Fate isn't ever like, okay, this is your story. This is what I'm saying?
Yeah, we
These
can
were the
think that.
chips you're given.
We
You
can
got to
think
deal
that.
with
Yeah,
it. Yeah, you can definitely change your fate.
that
And
would be
and
cool, but so
mm,
others would disagree. You know.
no, of course, yeah. I mean, always gonna be two sides to every coin. Everything is contradictory. So, but with free
Ooh,
will,
that's contentious. Yeah, go on, yeah.
somebody, somebody always gonna find a way
Oh,
to argue something. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
it's more true.
But
Yeah.
free will. I'm basically, I'm touching on free will because I do basically want to say, you know, in this domain, since we are given that free will, it is not influenced by him. Because if it was influenced by him, we all would just be believers. There would be no actual free will. Free will is more of a lens of what are you going to choose when it comes to God?
I disagree.
You get what
Like,
I mean?
because then you have to think about, all right, what would be the
Well, only
motivations for God to
religiously
do that?
speaking.
What what
Religiously
what would
speaking,
be the
brother.
motivations for a God to do that? That wouldn't be any fun for it, would it? What would be the point in doing that?
Well, that's the thing. Who said he's doing it for fun?
No, I just mean like in general, like what would be the point in doing that? If I'm the creator of the product, I know exactly how the product functions, I know where it comes from, I know where it's going. What would be the point in me creating a system in which it has to make decisions to like me? Everything is my will anyway.
Well, he does it because he does it again because again it's all beliefs and opinions. But it is to see, are you going to get to that finish line? So I guess if we're going to use the word fun,
it's kind of cruel. It's kind of cruel.
You can. That's the thing. You can say it's cruel, but you've done things that maybe you didn't think were cruel, but other people were like, "Yo, that was fucked up." But you was like,
yeah, for sure, no doubt.
What?
But I'm not a god, though, bro.
No, of course.
I'm not a god.
But remember, we have to remember.
Oh, maybe I am. I'm joking. But
God is his own. He's his own being. He has his own thoughts. He has a heart.
All right, but here, that's the joke. That's the joke.
And
the
so,
underlying joke, bro, of why I'm saying what I'm saying. You're making all those assertions and claims about what God is and what he is not. That speaks to humans inventing God, because we can now go as far to say, here's how God thinks about matters. Here's how God makes moral decisions. Here's why God done what he done. But reality is, if a God existed, we wouldn't have any access to how it thinks and why it does what it does. So it would just still remain a mystery. Religion would ultimately be false because of that. It would be a mystery. You know?
Okay, but you can say the same thing for somebody like me. I know I'm talking a lot now, and you know, even in the beginning, I was a little shaky. But I'm usually somebody who does. You don't have no access to my thoughts. I don't speak. I'm basically mute when I'm at work. You know.
Sure.
You can say the same thing about humans. You know.
Yeah.
We're not given that access because, in my opinion,
we
would just be blown away.
Nah. Yeah, you could think that, but I'm just like think if God is like a completely different type of being, meaning like he's not physical like we are. There's no way, like, and this is like assuming a bunch of things because this is all like fantasy to me. Right? Well, if you believe that standard view of what God is an immaterial spirit. Right? But if he was this all-powerful being and just a different type of creation to us, our psychology wouldn't be able to comprehend its psychology. So we'd just be making up reasons for it. Kind of like what we're doing with religion. We're making up reasons on behalf of it. Telling stories on behalf of it. But we don't actually have access to it to know. Do you know?
Well, that is, and I know this is going to be a very touchy subject, but that is why we were given, you know, the prophets. Those were the access, if you will, that middle ground, you know.
Well, whether you accept prophets or not to be like messengers of God, right? Isn't it interesting that the message is always limited to what the prophets knew at the time? God never decided to tell the prophets, hey, like, here's this thing called an element on a periodic table. Their prophetic messages are always limited to what that human knew at the time. Why is that?
Do you know why? Oh, go ahead. Oh, well, in my opinion, because this is going to be my opinion and my belief, but do you want to know why I believe we weren't given certain things like that?
Go on.
Especially the people back then, but look at it now. Okay, let's actually forget back then. Look at now. We do know the elements, right? But what do people do with it?
Well, all kinds of things, man. Not just negative things.
Right. But you see, there's things in this world that, I mean, if God is kind of like mystical and almost like a fairy tale to you and some other people, I don't know if that was right for me to say, but I heard those words earlier, so I used it.
Sure.
Then the other things that he's trying to keep us away from would seem fake and mystical as well, you know. But
I don't necessarily agree. Because God could have just been like, hey, look, these humans are about to create the atomic bomb. Let me just step in because this is going to change the history of the universe. He could be like, actually, like, these humans are about to invent biological warfare. Like, let me just, like, you know.
Yeah, but
let me just say something here. But no, he didn't. Right? Why did he only speak thousands of years ago to specific cultures of people and ignore everything since? With so much advancement, it doesn't actually add up.
Well, that's the thing. So as you get closer to the end, you'll get closer to his big, you know, all the big reveals and everything. But since we are going to this finish line all together, whether we
saying God's
like it or not.
got a season finale lined up for us, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like he's got
But I'm
OVA.
saying,
Yeah.
as we get closer to the end, it's gonna be harder for us. And I know it seems cruel. It's like, why do we get the bigger challenge? Why do we get a harder challenge?
So do you mean closer to the
don't
end
know,
individually, or closer to an end as a species?
As a species, as a world, as just everything,
I think the fact
'cause
that
everything
it
has
would
to come
end.
to an end.
Yeah, but I think that very fact points to the lack or need for a god then, because the whole view of people have is like, yeah, God created the whole universe and everything in it. But then we look at the universe like, oh, actually, the universe as it exists is going to end. Like, no life is going to be able to exist. Then what is the point
That's
in
the
God
thing,
creating it then?
There's existence for us after this existence. And also,
You hope,
you
right?
know,
You hope.
of course, you hope, because we're all attached to this, right? We're all attached to seeing life, to living life behind this camera, of course, you know what I mean? Um, and so I really do hope, and I really do believe that there's another existence. But, something that, again, I'm not trying to shit on Christianity. I'm gonna try to find something in the Bible, that I can use, because I don't want people to think I'm pooping it on it. But
Well, you're entitled to do that. It's not like you're
true,
required
that's
to speak nicely with anybody. So nothing is
But
above
again,
critique from my point of view. So
even
there's that.
something, yeah, even something else I learned is there are many, many, many other beings out there. Obviously, there's people that believe in aliens. Do you believe in aliens and like other existences out there?
No, I don't believe in aliens, but I think the probability of life in the universe is quite high.
Exactly. Okay, there you go. So to believe that something so great, so powerful, all-knowing, only created us, and only us with some type of purpose, that'll be pretty small-minded. Would you say so?
Yeah,
Or
I would
right?
agree. I would agree.
Because we already know there's angels, there's jinns.
We don't know that. No, I wouldn't go that far.
You're right.
I wouldn't
But
go that far.
we know there's
That's all
people.
beliefs.
Okay. We know there's birds, there's reptiles, we
Yeah.
know there's other animals here.
There's
so why would
other
we not?
animals here for sure. That's what
Exactly.
we do know.
Okay. We'll at least use what we know, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so the thing about us, the special thing about humans, because we are very special. I know you don't want to get too deep in the
To
story.
us, because we're us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course we're special to us. It'd be like saying your kid's not special, just any kid.
Right. Well,
To us, we're special.
Everything's special. Everything's special. But I'm saying special because you'll get it when I get to the end.
Sure.
We get to have a different reward in the existence after here.
I like how
right?
you signed there, because you knew what that meant. I like how you
mean?
signed. He was like, oh man, I'm saying something that's kind of dread.
What do you mean? Like what part?
Because he was like the way you signed was like, we get to have a reward. It was kind of like, oh shit, man, like this means bad things for other things that aren't us.
Nah. I mean, like other beings out there in the universe, whatever, they're created for whatever purpose they were created for. But we were created to be tested because we are going to be something. Think of it like a pseudo god, if you will, right? I'm not trying to get too crazy into it because people are going to be like, what is he talking about?
Why not?
But we're going to be able to again still have free will. That whole idea that we get to go to heaven and we're just going to stand there all around God and just praise him for thousands and millions of no. If he gave us free will here, we'll have free will over there. We're going to be able to create.
These are hopes. These are
Yeah.
dreams, right? But not necessarily facts.
Right.
Like we're barely like we're mismanaging the life that we got already, and we're talking about having afters after dinner. Do you know?
Yeah. And so the reason why I'm telling you the big like reward that we get, that free will, like everything we do is going to be praised. I'm saying that to say, if you're going to be, let's say you're God. Let's just put you in God's shoes, right? If you're going to give a being or a species of being the ability to create, and everything you do is going to be worship, you don't even have to pray, because when you eat, you're worshiping. You know what I'm saying? When you create something, you're worshiping. Like, if you're going to give something that ability, would you not want to test it, especially after you've had some creations disobey you?
I mean, not necessarily, right? Because I know why I designed it in the first place. At that
Okay.
point, from my point of view, it would just be for sheer entertainment. I don't like. Again, we're speaking about God as if he has human psychology. What would be the likelihood
Well,
of him thinking like
yeah.
us?
Well, that's the thing, to give us this amazing mind and this psychology, you have to have a piece of it. You have to understand to be able to give or to teach, right?
Maybe, or we could be like an accident. It's like just a complete unintentional accident. He's like, alright, so let me just see how this plays out.
Okay. So let's go off of that, Luke. If we are a big accident, and he's like, let's just see how it plays out. How would that not be proof of existence?
What do you mean? We are speaking hypothetically, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see how it would
But
be.
to you, yeah. But like, let's say that was your standpoint. You know, hey, we're just a big accident. You know, I just want to see how this plays out. Why would that not be proof of existence there?
Well, yeah, at the point in which we're making this hypothetical claim, we're already acknowledging the existence of God, so it's kind of silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if we was to say, oh, we're just an accident and not bring in the concept of God, then we would just consider ourselves that an accident. You know?
Okay.
So it wouldn't be like if we had no knowledge of God, like say if we had no knowledge of God and we figured out, oh, we're an accident, that wouldn't make us think that there is a God, you know. But given the context,
because when you first said it, it seemed like maybe you believed that, like maybe it was like, well, maybe we just, you know. So I was like, well,
no, I was just given like an
okay.
alternative option because you said to me, if I was God, like, wouldn't I want to test my product? And I'm like, no, not really, because I've created it. And you was like, but we're special in some kind of way. I can't remember. And I was like, what if we're just an accident? No, you said he has to have a part of the thing in order to create it, or we have to have a part of him. And I was like, what if we're just an accident, like an experiment gone wrong, and he's just watching it play out?
Well, even if it was an accident, he would still have to give us a piece of whatever he has for us to have, you know.
No, that doesn't necessarily follow. That's why I said it could just be an accident. It's like imagine like you're like just like a crazy scientist or something, and you're trying to make this specific thing, and you already know like what the like, for instance, you know anime, right? Full Metal Alchemist, right?
Yeah.
The brothers are trying to make their mum, and they think they have all the right ingredients to make their mum. The result should be their mum, but when they do it, something else happens, and they're like, "Oh, actually, this isn't what we intended to make." Right? I'm in it in that kind of way.
Okay.
Right? So it's not like he had to intentionally say, "Look, I'm going to give them the powers to create." It's just like, "Oh shit, look what I made by accident. Let's see what it does." That was the hypothetical.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Then I definitely get what you're saying now. In my opinion, there's no accidents with God, but that's your standpoint, you know, hypothetically, for this hypothetical.
Yeah, I mean, that would give him an out as well for his lack of moral action, because he's just watching to see what happens then, right? Instead of him testing us and making us go through terrible things just for his sheer pleasure, you know. So that would help there too.
Yeah, you know, I get that standpoint. A lot of people say there's a lot of like bad things going on in the world. How does he not come in like Superman? But you know, he promised us spiritual saving, but he didn't say he was gonna come in and be our Superman. You know, we have to.
From my point of view, he didn't say anything at all.
That is true.
He said nothing at all, really.
You're right.
It's like, men tell me this, so men say.
But ultimately, this is our domain, you know, and so this is gonna sound crazy, right? But the people that are in power, they're in power because we let them be in power. Everybody knows there's way more of us than them and all these other things. I'm not saying he advocates for war and blood, but hey.
But one could argue these things are what allow people to be in power. These very systems that we're discussing, these belief systems, is what allows for those people to be in power.
It's been perverted for sure.
No, it doesn't even need to be perverted. It needs to function exactly how it is. You know, like some people are like, you know, the system is effed up, man. The system's effed up. But someone will be like, no, the system is working exactly how it's supposed to work. It is effed up, but it benefits who designed it. You know, to do that, to be that way.
But do you not think that they know this being exists, right? They know he exists, and they know that the masses, or well, I'm gonna just say the masses. You don't have to be part of the masses, but there is a big part of the masses that want to connect to this being. But we're gonna use this and be the middlemen so that way we can control you and also disrupt this connection.
I don't think that to be the case. I think it benefits them to have you believing in the pie in the sky and the supernatural because you don't pay attention
Hey,
to the
bro.
material on the ground, and that's where they benefit. Again, like
But funny
the
enough,
religious
nobody
views
looked up enough.
allow for these crazy hierarchical systems in the first place. Because if you invoke a god and then make God anthropomorphic, you actually create a hierarchy. Then someone can come along on Earth, just like the rest of us, and say, "I am the closest to God now. Now I'm second on the hierarchical chain." And then another person can come and say, "I'm closest to the guy that's closest to God." Now you've got another rung on the hierarchy, right? That's how these things benefit people in power. Right?
And that's what I mean by it was perverted. But I do want to touch
I wouldn't
real
say that.
quick before I
I'd say
touch
that's how
into
it's
that.
supposed to work. I wouldn't say it's perverted.
Yeah.
That's how it's supposed to work.
Well, the system, that's how it's supposed to work, yeah. But as far as religion or just knowing the existence of a God, then that's what I'm saying has been perverted. But
Maybe.
when you say, when you say they want us looking up so we don't see what's going on in the ground, funny enough, if you look around today, everybody's actually looking at the ground and not looking up.
Nah.
Look at the movie.
Are you speaking? You're speaking metaphorically, right?
Metaphorically and physically, you know. Like look at the movie, for example, Don't Look Up.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it.
But right. And so that was a huge metaphor as well. Like it ties in perfectly in what we're talking about right now. You know, you said they want us looking up and not around.
Yeah,
But they're
metaphorically.
keeping us but they're actually keeping us tapped in on the phone, right?
Yeah.
They're keeping us tapped in into the club, into the parties, into games, into this, into whatever the hell, because that's all surface ground stuff, right? Metaphorically.
Yeah, but no different to religion.
You're saying like religion is one of the ground things? Okay.
Religion is no different. Religion is like a political party, a social club, a secret society. It's just exposed to the masses. Religion starts as a small cult, then it reaches critical mass, and then it gets acknowledged as a religion. So it's no different to the clubbing and the partying. It's another type of intoxicant. It's the same kind of thing.
Now, I do want to be honest. I am struggling with religion, not with God's existence, but I am struggling with religion. So I do understand what you're saying, because it does come off as cultish, or you know, it's just like basically everything that you're saying. You know, religion is used for power. It is used to, you know, to control the masses and to get people again distracted from what I told you in the beginning, the basics. Because we all know, what does every religion, or just every, if you want to go with God, what are you told? Be a good person, believe in him, and just try. Just try to
On the
correct
ground
your mistakes.
level,
It's always the same three things.
maybe on the ground level, but the higher up you go, if you look at any religious institution and the history of them, the people at the top of these places, whether they're intellectual powerhouses or political powerhouses, they don't operate from those rules. Those are the slave rules you give to the lower rungs of the institution. Like even people who take the books, the religious texts, and then they approach it esoterically, they derive a whole other set of rules of how one ought to act than you, the common believer. Do you know? So it's in there. It's built. The system is in there. Do you know?
Yeah. But that's why I say, you know, that's why I was saying, we all know the three basic rules, right? Try to correct your mistakes, be a good person, and believe that he exists. So with what you're saying right now,
that's something that people say, but whether that's actually what the whole philosophy entails is different.
That's what I was trying to, I'm trying to touch on a little bit more though. So of course, I know people touch scripture. I know people add stuff to scripture. I know people want certain rules and certain regulations, so they put it in, right?
Well, they just interpret it out. You know?
But we as humans already come with a basic understanding of what a good person is and what a bad person is. Do you believe that?
No, we don't. We develop those systems. Because there is no universal good and there's no universal bad. Just like there's no universal God.
So you don't believe, let's say two babies are just dropped off, right? Or just, let's just say actually 10 babies are dropped off in the woods. For whatever reason, they're able to, you know, survive, get to the point that they're adults. We don't know how they fed themselves, but fuck it, they did, right? Excuse my language.
Sure.
You don't believe that they all would know by themselves without anybody teaching them, hey, I shouldn't kill this other person, or hey, I shouldn't steal this person's
No,
stuff.
no, they
You
would
you think
develop a
they
code
just
over time, bro. They would develop a code that prioritizes their survival, and if group prioritizes the survival the most, then they would develop laws amongst themselves to ensure the survival of the group. Hence, morality. That's what would happen, but they won't. They wouldn't know any of those things innately.
so you think morality is more of a, how do I say that? You think it's more of like a mind thing than a spiritual thing?
Of course. Well, like depending on who you talk to, mind and spiritual are interchangeable anyway. Right? Spiritual is the mystification of the mind.
Yeah, you're right on what you first said. Depends on who you're talking to, because the mind definitely, it will disrupt your spiritual journey if you let it.
Yeah, but that's again. See, the problem is, right? What is a spiritual journey in the first place? It's ill-defined.
Well,
You're taking a material reality and you're mystifying it into something beyond that. Now it's fine if we're adults and we're capable of
yeah,
grappling with metaphor and allegory, but it's different if you're talking to people who don't have those conceptual tools. They take it literally.
right.
You
As everybody, everybody's an individual, so you receive what you want to receive. You perceive what you want to perceive.
You need tools, though, bro.
Um,
You need a base reality to operate from. Or else, there's also delusion.
of course, but I think it's a delusion to say that humans don't already know what's good and what's bad.
How?
We're born knowing
So,
not to hurt others.
so
We're born knowing.
why don't we determine what good means and what bad means, or in this instance, what good and what evil means?
Okay. Before we get into that too, because I did want to touch on the hierarchy thing.
Sure.
It is, and I don't know if I can give you this lesson again. I know you're probably gonna have your own standpoint, but it is actually, if somebody says, "Hey, I'm the closest being to God, so I'm number two," you're already disqualified. I already know you're not close to God, because
Well, yeah, come on.
we're all equal. Even if you are given
Ah,
the revelations, even if you are given visions,
but you see
you gonna
that
bleed just like I bleed. You poop just like I poop.
that's a good view to
And
hold. But you see that egalitarian view of we're all equal. That can't be derived from religion. Religion doesn't give you that. That's derived from man. That's a humanist stance to say we're all equal. Religion doesn't sanction that. Religion sanctions hierarchy. That's what I'm trying to say to you. You can't get that
well,
view from a God system.
that's the thing.
We're not
From
all
God's
equal
system,
in religion, right? Because God has favorites, doesn't he? He shows favor. So we're not all equal in religion.
no, we
You
definitely
realize it?
all. No, we all are equal religiously, but also we all equal humanly. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
but you can't hold that. You don't get that from the tenets of a
He
religion,
doesn't
right?
have favorites.
Of course he does. What do you think favor is? Don't you realize that like tradition was a covenant with the Jews? Everyone else he decided to delete from the world at a certain point, and he only kept Noah's family and then started again. He has favorites, right? So we're not all
But
equal
but
in a religious
but is that
context.
no. See,
Uh,
words words are beautiful because words can be used in many different ways. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
I could use green to paint a tree, but I could use green to paint a whale too if I just want to, right?
Say again,
And
sorry?
so I say that to say,
You can use green to
so
paint a
for
tree
example, if
and
I'm
use
painting
green to paint a whale?
like a whale, that's something that's not even green. I could
Ah,
paint it green if I want to, though, right? Because
well,
that's what I'm saying.
yeah,
Like with
in
words,
metaphor.
right? But I'm saying for words. So what I'm saying is favor doesn't mean you're favorited. It just means like favor. Like I'm
Yeah,
doing you a favor.
it's
You
literally
know what
what
I'm
that
saying?
means, bro. You're talking,
No,
you're
but if I do,
talking-
okay, so if I do you a
like
favor, are you my
you're
favorite
dying on
person?
a hill you don't want to die on, bro.
No,
Like
no, 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 no.
favor is important
Listen.
within the religious context, right?
But
Or else you
listen,
don't get a chosen people, you don't get covenants, you don't get Jesus. Those things, favor
listen to
is
what I'm
super
saying, though.
important.
No. What I'm saying is, if I do you a favor, are you my favorite person?
No, doing a favor and
Exactly.
having favor for someone is different. Favoring someone is
So that's
different.
what I mean. When he
But
says
truth be told,
favor,
you would only do a favor because you favor that person. If I didn't have any
true,
rapport
that's not true.
or relationship with
That's
you,
not true.
I haven't got any reasons to do a favor for you, right? Maybe we're using it
I
weird
have a boss.
linguistically.
Okay, everybody's had a boss or some type of coworker they disliked, they didn't like, right? But they asked,
Yeah,
"Hey, could you do something?" And you said, "Yeah, right. You'll do the favor, right?"
yeah, because you have rapport with them. You're in relation to them. So if God is in relation to a specific group of people and not other group of people, then He has favor for them. He's
So
in
when you give
relation.
a homeless
He's in
man,
relation to them already.
when you give homeless man money,
Yeah.
where's the rapport? I know the rapport
Because
is being built right then and
I'm
there,
in
but
relation with that man. If I'm giving one home, because I'm a human and I'm not God, I'm not omnipresent, right? I have relationship to that man because I'm right in front of him. So he's favored over the next homeless man down the road that I didn't walk down. But if I'm God and I could be everywhere at all times and speak to anyone at any time, and I only choose to speak to these people, that's because I favor those people. I favor the relationship with those people. That's the
no,
point of religion. So
there's no
you
favorites.
don't get to
You
have the
did him a
egalitarian
favor.
view from a religious standpoint because it doesn't give you all men are equal. It's we are saved, they are sinners, we are clean, they are dirty. Right? Religion doesn't provide an
No,
egalitarian view. It's humans coming in
there's no.
secularizing religion to let you think that. But religion itself doesn't sanction that egalitarian we're all equal view. It just simply doesn't. Divine favor is one of the main points of religion.
All right, there's two things I can say about this.
Sure.
For one, there's no favorites. It's just, hey, if you're doing right, you're doing right, and so you're gonna get this favor of not getting walked the f- away. You get what I'm saying?
Nah, bro. I don't. Like you're fighting a silly point.
Now,
You need to accept that if you f with God from a religious
now,
standpoint, God has favor, and He shows it in different ways. That's just a part and parcel of religion, bro. You can't reason that way.
see, I just the thing is, if you say that, then you're basically saying everybody who's gonna take what Muhammad said, Jesus said, whatever, do it the completely right way, then they're favored too.
Yes.
It can't just be okay.
So when
So it
when
just
a
can't be
religious
oh,
person
just only
says
Jesus was the favorite or Muhammad was
when
the
a religious
favorite,
person says like I've experienced a blessing, right? That is favor. Right. So
but that
that's
doesn't
what
make
that
you
is.
but that doesn't mean
When
that
God
doesn't mean
favors
your favorite though.
when God favors one army over another army in a Bible, right, then that means God has favored that group of people's survival over another group, right? It's not that complex. It just sounds dread to say, yeah, a father apparently has a favorite child, but he apparently in his books he does have a favorite child, dude. Like,
No. See,
it's like
if you
you
God
can
is all
only.
about your work,
That's what you think,
right?
right? That's your opinion. That's fine. But I'm
That's
saying
okay.
what the religion prescribes itself. Right? It does have favorites. There's a direct covenant with a specific group of people, and even if you don't go that far, you just start at Adam and Eve and Satan, right, in the garden. He's already got favorites, right? He started by making Adam, and he's like, "Oh, Adam's kind of lonely. I'm gonna make Eve," right? So he favored Adam to create Eve. You know, so you can't actually escape it because the way it's been designed is anthropomorphic anyway. It's the whole religious view is based on human psychology. And humans can't operate in this dispassionate, objective way. We just can't. Right? So it's not that deep, but yeah,
Okay, so
you can't reason that away.
so this was my second point, right? He's all about your work. My belief, my opinion, whatever. Some
Sure.
people, which is crazy to me, believe that, oh, I'm just gonna say I believe in this and he's gonna wash up. No, you gotta work for your, you know what I'm saying? You gotta work for your cut. You gotta work to get through the gate. What are you talking about? There ain't no free pass.
Sure, we might be able to
So
say that, but we don't know what
w-
God thinks.
that's true. But what I'm gonna say is I'll agree to an extent where I say where I'm basically trying to say you'll be favorited if you put in the work. You get what I'm saying?
It doesn't appear like that biblically. That's all I'm saying. Me, you're talking to someone who doesn't believe God exists, at least not in
Yeah.
a religious way anyway. So it's all just like a sort of internal critique anyway. So it doesn't matter to me either way.
See, but that's the most beautiful thing too. How you just said you don't believe in God, at least not in a religious way.
Yeah.
I don't. This is gonna be very contradictory, but I don't believe it. Religion is the answer, and that's why I told you in the beginning. I am studying, and I'm seeing you just got to go with back to the creator and creator first. You get what I'm saying? You can't go with the religion because
Yeah.
religion has confused everything.
Maybe
And so
so.
when you get back to the basics and you do it alone and you do it in your own, your own lane,
But
your own time.
can you ever really operate with concepts of God uninfluenced by anyone else? Can you really do that in this day and age?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I mean, in my opinion, yes.
I don't think so.
Are you going to be influenced sometimes? Are you going to hear something that resonates with you? Yeah. But it
You,
is still up to you
you
to
need the
decide,
very
hey,
vocabulary. You need all of that philosophical and theological grounding laid out for you already to even be able to start the journey. Or else you'll be like our ancestors. You're going to be like, I'm going to call the volcano god. I'm going to call the storm god. You know? You'll be just like our ancestors, starting from scratch.
I get what you're saying, yeah. But you can start from scratch.
You could try.
Yeah, you can definitely try. Like, that's the thing. We forget sometimes too. I know the prophets are whatever they are to you, but for you, since we're gonna say metaphorically they existed or whatever, right? Or what is your standpoint? Do you believe like they actually existed? Like they actually did their things, their 1-2 or whatever?
Look, I would say to be able to call someone a prophet in the religious context is actually to like already admit that there's a God at play already, you know.
Okay.
So from that point of view, they wouldn't be prophets. Now, you might say like, if I wanted to have like a worldly view on all religions, I could just say, yeah, like Jesus was just an enlightened man, Muhammad was just an enlightened man, Noah was just an enlightened man, Moses was just an enlightened man. Right? I could have that view and say, oh yeah, they existed as just men. I could, but I don't necessarily hold that view either. I think of them all as storytelling devices. You know?
Okay. So I'm gonna just say for my end then, since I do believe in the prophet's existence, how did they start? You know, they look at Muhammad. He was in a cave. Jesus in the mountains. You know, like they all just they were to themselves. They were just in nature, and so I do believe you can find God from scratch. Now,
well, in that sense, God found them though, didn't he?
You said what?
In the prophet sense, God found them, right? So it's not like they found God. It's God spoke directly to them.
I would say more like God came to them. He sought them, but I wouldn't say he found them. I would say they found.
Yeah, sought them.
They found the way to connect to God, and God was like, "Oh, okay, you came halfway. You found it. Okay, boom, I got you."
I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily true.
No, I mean it's even
just
right
by
now,
the story standards, I don't think that's necessarily true.
Even right now, me saying it is just an idea. I'm not saying like this is like my firm like belief, like I've thought of this. I'm kind of telling you like an idea right now, right?
Sure.
Like they all were able to find God from scratch because again they did it right. Like you said with the ancestors, they try to find God through trying to like light up volcanoes and try to like summon storm clouds. It's like, come on, you're not gonna find God.
Nah, maybe later. Nah, I think those people are way more in tune with reality than us today. Us today, we're too far gone in our like metaphysical schisms to actually be have any real connection with something like that. I think our ancestors were more on the money than we are.
I think they were. I think we're metaphysical. They were. How do I? What realm is that? They definitely were in the spiritual realm, man. They were dwelling with, they were delving real deep into like the magic and the. They didn't know the elemental table, but they knew how to mix certain stuff to create, like
sure. I just mean it in a way where they lived harmonious with nature, and then they praised nature in that kind of way, not in like a pagan kind of way. It's just like they understood, fire is fire, water is water, earth is earth, and I take these things to be something higher. I think that's more in tune with reality than the level we're speaking. What we're speaking is like pure abstraction.
Yeah. Like even this conversation to somebody like me, it shows how the creator works.
Okay.
Because there's some people that believe, there's some people who don't.
Yeah.
But yet there's a disbeliever who's like, hey, change my mind if you can. I feel like
Sure.
that in itself shows how he works, because if you really were like like I'm gonna die on this hill, I don't believe at all, you don't have to put that as the caption. You don't have to put that on the top of your video. Hey, change my mind if you can. And
Sure.
I know I'm adding the if you can part, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's implied.
You know, there's if you even have a little bit of interest, if for whatever reason lately it's just been on your mind or your heart, and you're like, what the hell? Like this is different. You know, like that in itself shows how he's working, because I look, just talking to you,
Sure.
I can definitely tell you're very intelligent.
Oh, I
You
appreciate
know,
that.
you
Oh,
could
flattered.
tell. Yeah,
Yeah,
like I
I'm
could tell you're
joking.
very intelligent. I could just tell. You know, I'm still on my journey. You know, to change my life and to dive deeper in books and to just be more intelligent myself. You know, I aspire to be somebody like you and the last guy who was on
Nah,
here
bro,
too.
don't give me props like that, bro.
No, no,
I'm just a
I'm gonna
regular
give
guy.
props where it's due.
Just a
You
regular
know,
guy.
but you know, if it's in your heart, if it's in your mind, even to just have these conversations, that's how he works. Because as intelligent as you are, as well as you articulate
Bro,
yourself,
it's gassing. No, go on.
why would I not want somebody like that on my team?
Well, I don't know. I
You
don't
get what
know,
I mean?
but I wouldn't. Of course, I wouldn't like to view it in that way, right? But I understand why you might interpret it that
But
way.
what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, I talked to a coworker. He's younger. He's trying to figure out things, but I could just. Have you ever been around somebody you could just feel their presence? Like, definitely, some people have more of a presence than other people, right?
That's favor.
You think that's favor?
Yeah, of course that's favor.
Because I've worked, for me personally, like I had to work on building my presence, like,
Maybe.
or maybe it was just given to me. I don't know. You know what I
Maybe.
mean? I don't know.
We don't know. Like, in terms
That's
of
true,
our
because
ability to communicate, I don't think I don't think we're all equal that way. Because I'm someone that's historically suffered with the ability to communicate properly. Doing this is new to me as well, so I don't think
okay,
we're all we're all afforded that kind of communal aspect to human nature, especially in the times we live in. It's something that has to be developed. But yeah, you viewing people as having presence speaks to more of your social orientation. Like you're more aware of those things. With someone who's neurodivergent, that just may be just completely oblivious to them. It's just like, that's just a person. I'm just a person. Whatever, you know.
okay, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
But you being in tune with that speaks more to how you operate as a person. You know.
Gotcha. So I was basically saying this to say, like, he had questions, and just judging from the way he spoke, you know, the questions he asked, I kind of told him the same thing I told you. You know, as driven as you are, and as soul searching or universal, like, right, whatever you are, why would I not want somebody like that on my team? Because if you're that intrigued, if you're that willing to study and to find answers, one day you're gonna come upon the right answer and you'll be able to teach others. You get what I'm trying to say?
Maybe, but
Unfortunately,
I think it's dubious that you look at it as teams, though. I do find that kind of dubious.
well, no, I don't look at it as teams. I'm just using that as a term. Like,
Sure.
I speak very, as you can tell, everything's like a metaphor or a parable or some sort. Like,
Well,
yeah, that's just how I
goddamn.
talk to them.
Don't speak
I
straight.
don't know why.
No straight talk
Yeah,
at all, nah.
You said what?
Nah, no straight talk at all, nah.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's just how I
Fair
am.
play.
Like, everything got to be kind of like, you got to like deconstruct what I'm really saying.
That's fair.
But, and I'm working on it, but I don't know. It's just how I am. But
Yeah, of course,
you
you don't
know,
have to do anything. You don't have to be anything more than what you're going to be anyway, so who cares?
I get what you're saying. I kind of say it more too, because like I'm somebody who, for example, I'm a site director, security, so I'm in like board meetings and all these type of things. So I have to learn how to speak more straightforward and stuff like that. But I digress.
Sure.
You know, in my opinion, the fact that you want these conversations, and is it fair for me to say that you want the conversation?
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't speak to you if I didn't want to
Okay.
speak to you.
Because some people will be like, oh, I don't want it, but it's like, my dog is in your caption. So the fact that you want the conversation shows a little bit of how he's working with you. And you specifically. All of us are part of your journey right now because we're all on your live. Me and you are chopping it up. We're trying to figure out things and we're learning from each other.
Yeah.
And so let's say there comes a day that you find your way to believe. this would have just been a stepping stone or a brick, you know what I'm saying, to your foundation.
True.
Yo, I remember I started those lives, and when I was home off a live, for some reason, I just would want these conversations. Like, I wanted intellectual conversation,
You
but I
do
wanted
realize the opposite
Mhm.
could be true too for other people listening, that this would bring them away from that kind of religious view of a God.
Yeah. Here's the thing. This is gonna
So,
sound crazy.
as long as you're aware
My
of that.
goal, yeah, my goal one day, and the reason why I want to be able to articulate myself in a manner, in a certain manner, and be, intelligent where I need to be, is because I really do. Like I said, I since a child, I just believe, like, okay, you want me to do this, I'm gonna find a way. I'm still trying to find my way, but I don't believe religion is the way. God is the way, but religion isn't the way anymore because it's just all been tainted.
So what are you
I don't.
proposing?
I propose you get back. It's gonna sound like repetitive, but get back to the basics. You appreciate the fact that, yeah, there might have been a prophet, or if you believe in God, you got to believe that there were prophets, right? But you believe,
You
hey,
don't.
there were prophets, but
You ain't got to believe that. I would say that deviates from the basics.
well, the basics doesn't involve the prophets. But I'm saying, to say that he didn't send, or at least give humans revelation, I feel like it'll be, I don't know. It'll be like saying, like, well, God created all the animals, but he didn't create the bald eagle. You know what I mean? Like,
No, I feel like
that's how I feel, but that's me.
what you're doing is saying I don't like religion, but still you default to it in your way of thinking, your approach to God. Right? You're not able to interact with the way you're speaking. You're not able to interact with the concept of God outside of the religious context, based on what you just said. Do you know?
Well, no. So I get what you're saying. I see, like, how you're seeing that, but what I'm basically trying to say is, like, when you get back to the basics, that just means creator. We can't worship no saint, no statue, no human, just go to the creator.
Sure. So then I don't need a middleman.
And then inside, even if it was taught to you, even if it, like that conversation we had earlier, that we would have, like, created, the babies would have created some type of way to, like, understand survival and what's best for them, right?
Yeah.
Even inside, if you know this is not the right thing to do, just don't do it. You know what I mean?
Of course,
We all
I think
know
that
right
applies
from wrong.
across the board.
Right, because it's just a universal.
But we
well,
don't.
some
But
people
I
will
would
say it's
disagree with
not,
that
but
part. We don't all know right from wrong. We don't.
no, you definitely have to learn,
Yeah.
right? You definitely have to learn. But the murderer who keeps murdering doesn't think he's right. He knows he's wrong.
Hey,
You know what I mean?
maybe it's part of his nature. Just like an animal. Yeah, maybe it is.
Hopefully not.
Well,
But
look, bro. We're probably most of us gonna have a Sunday dinner today. We're gonna eat some chicken or some beef or some pork or some fish. We had to kill shit to eat that. so
but
it's like part of our nature, really, right?
But that's
So
okay.
so the
That's
murderer is dysfunctional as the way we want society to be, but the murderer in his own nature is who he's supposed to be. Do you know?
I think what you're murdering, like the context of what you're murdering, definitely matters here.
Qualifier. Yeah, I hear you still.
Yeah, because you need to eat, and
Yeah,
we were
damn
given
right.
animals to eat.
No, I
We
disagree
just
with
weren't
that. I disagree with that.
Oh, you're a vegan?
No, I eat meat, but I disagree with that view
Okay.
that we're supposed to be that we're supposed to think a god gave us permission to just munch animals. I think that actually goes against a god. If I was going to be a religious person, it wouldn't make any sense to think that.
Mm.
So
Well, that's the thing. So
I eat meat completely aware of my
yeah,
ignorance. You know?
yeah. So what I'm saying, like, you see how we two have completely different standpoints of this all, right? Let's say, hypothetically, one day you're like, okay, I do believe in God's existence, but I'm not going to go with religion. When you're able to believe in God and separate it from religion, not that you're going to, of course, put your own understanding on it all, right? You
But
can't lean
I
on your own
started out like
understanding.
that though. That's the irony.
Mhm.
I started out like that.
So maybe you just needed more.
You saying I need more religion?
No, not religion, but you
I just
definitely
playing.
needed some more grounding. Something like, to keep, because back then, man, like when I was trying to do the relationship God way the first time, I definitely was confused and pulled all different places in all different ways, because I'm listening to this person, I'm listening to this person, then a pastor talked to me on my way home. It's very confusing because you don't have, especially being so young, I didn't
We're
have that
growing, so we're
grounded
just taking information.
understanding. Yeah, exactly. So what I'm saying is like, I believe it's relationship over religion. You need to have your own relationship with God, you know? Because
Yeah, I've heard that a
at the
lot.
end of the day, if you feel like, hey, God doesn't want me to kill this animal. Maybe he just don't want you to kill that, maybe he just don't want you to be a meat eater. So just be a
Maybe,
vegan.
but
Like,
that in itself is a type of. It's like a rebranding of religion in modern times. I'm not in a religion. I have a relationship with Jesus. I'm not a Christian, and like I have a relationship with Jesus. I'm not in a religion. I have a relationship with God. This is like a. This is what's akin to like a sort of semantic bleaching. It's a very clever political way to sidestep the implications of what you're involved in, to make you feel like less guilt, less shame, and stuff like that. But really and truly, you are still religious deep down. I think you're aware of that too.
so you don't believe that relationship could mean complete separation from religion?
Of course, you can't have like everything is in relation to something else. So to say it in that way is a sort of, it's kind of disingenuous. Everything is in relation to something. Okay, but the reality is the context of your relationship to a god is through a religious setting. So just embrace it. Just be wholeheartedly Muslim, wholeheartedly Christian, wholeheartedly whatever it is, and don't try to like dilute your faith for the whims of society. I would say, just go all in. That's my opinion, anyway.
Mm, I'm taking it in. Give me a second, like, because what you just said is, yeah. Because of course we are told not to be lukewarm if you're going to be in this journey, right? Or at
Well,
least that's what they say.
well, it's just like saying I'm trying to think of an analogy here. Like, I spend my days and nights thinking about cars and working on engines all the time, but don't you dare call me a mechanic. I just have a relationship with cars. Do you know? It's silly. The foundation of what you're operating from is the religion. In the same way, the foundation of what the mechanics operating from is being a mechanic. It's like engineering, you know.
Mm.
It's like I work on cars, but I'm not an engineer. Like that's kind of what you're doing semantically, and it makes it look bad to the outside view. You know.
So you think pushing more of a relationship would make people
Yeah,
just more fearful of the concept of God?
to the unsuspecting person, it's a nice like it's a softening. It's like imagine I was trying to sell you on joining the military, you know, and up front I tell you about the military in all these nice like flowery ways, but then as soon as you open the door and you're actually on the camp, you're like, no, the military is what I thought it was, right? And the recruiter lied to me, right? It's
Yeah.
the same kind of thing that's being done here. Right? So that's what I'm saying. Now I understand it in like a because of my side of the table is very well like studied on your side of the table and vice versa, but to the average person they're unsuspecting with that kind of language, so they fall prey to it. Do you know? So I'm not a Christian. I just have a relationship with Jesus. I follow Jesus, but I'm not a Christian. You know, I have a relationship with God, but I'm not in a religion. And then everything that all of your knowledge base when concerning God is primarily from a religion. It says otherwise, doesn't it?
Well, I can't say all of my knowledge is from religion. Like the last guy said, real life has given me an understanding of God itself. Now, if you're gonna say this is where I want to like kind of see if I can get you to understand what I'm thinking.
True.
Like, if you're gonna follow a specific prophet, then yes, you should be in a religion. But if you want to follow God, you could, if you want, do the religion thing. But I feel like to get to the Creator, that's a relationship. When you want to follow a prophet and their teachings and all that, I feel like that's the religion. But God, the Creator itself,
Yeah, I
is
get
the
you.
relationship.
I get you. But then someone could
Because
say, why not just be a pantheist or a deist? Like, so for instance, if you're gonna say, look, I just want to mess with God, just me and God. you don't have to
Mhm.
acknowledge any historic middlemen that are claimed by religion. You don't even have to acknowledge the existence of prophets at all. You just
Yeah,
say,
and that's
look,
okay.
it's me and it's God, and that's it. No extras, no surplus, no metaphysics. It's just that. You could do that, and there
Mhm.
are people who claim to do that. But being that your knowledge base, because I've been speaking with you for like an hour, I know that you're very well
Yeah.
informed on different religious views. So the context for how you approach God isn't going to be the same context as like a Tarzan character that has no knowledge
Right.
of any of
Yeah.
these religions.
Yeah.
So your view in a way is already pre-tainted by your religiosity, even though you're now like saying I'm departing from religion, but I'm still maintaining connection with God. Your connection is
Mhm.
informed by your past. You know?
Yeah, of course. Like, there's gonna always be a part, when you choose relationship, there's always gonna be a part of you. There's always gonna be a few bricks in your foundation that were, built from your past. I feel like whatever brick stands the test of time. That's, of course, what you should have taken. Because there are some parts of religion, man, like we both know, it's just like, come on, like that, like let's
Yeah,
be real, like
no
come on,
doubt.
man. And so I really, really, really hope that one day you find what you're looking for, even if it is, hey, you know what, I'm just not gonna believe at all. Like I just hope you find what you're looking for, because as far as my understanding, and I could be wrong, I feel like you're interested.
Oh
I
yeah,
feel like
of course
I
I'm
feel
not
like it's
not.
on your own time. It's on your mind. It's in your heart, and that's why maybe you're looking for these outside, not influences or sources, but you're looking for this outside. Uh, help me finish this sentence, because I know what I'm trying to say, but
I don't
there's
know.
so much
I
going
don't
on
know what you're
around me.
trying to say. I
Okay,
would
but
acknowledge that I
you're
am interested, of course. I have my
yeah,
questions of why, but I also have my own agenda to why I do what I do. There's no two ways about
exactly.
that. You know?
So since I didn't have like a last finishing word for that sentence, like you're looking inside, but you want to look outside as well, because you need to hear from other people. We're human, you know what I mean?
Well,
I tell
I would
people all the
accept.
time. There's
I would accept your analysis of me, but it's not necessarily
yeah,
accurate. That's what I would
yeah, that's
say.
okay. Yeah, I mean we're still strangers.
Sure.
And definitely I would like to. I'm gonna follow and see if we could talk some more, even about other subjects, because you're definitely somebody I can learn from. So, um, or just
Yeah,
have
I respect
conversation
that.
with.
I appreciate that,
Yeah.
and I've learned from your perspective as well. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, like you're definitely on a journey. I hope you find what you're looking for,
I
and
ain't looking for
you
nothing.
you 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 said what?
I ain't looking for nothing. Shit, I'm
You just
good.
out here vibing.
I'm good. Nah, I'm joking.
Yeah. Yeah, to me this conversation shows how he works.
Alright, I appreciate
Even
that.
even in the bad way, like the fact that he chooses not to do anything sometimes shows how he works, you know?
Why can't it be she? Nah, I'm joking.
No,
That will tie it up. That will tie it
I
up,
get
bro.
yeah.
Alright. So, anyways, I appreciate you for coming on. I
He,
didn't get your
she,
name, bro.
yeah. Universe, but I go by Louis.
Louis. Technically,
Yes,
you are the
sir.
universe, so yeah, that's cool. I'll take that. Space Dust
Yeah.
Louis.
If you want the truth too, like one time I was praying, because I believe we have our earth names, the names our mom gave us, right, or our parents, but I believe we have names, from God itself, right?
I
And
guess
so,
maybe.
yeah, okay, I know it's just a me thing. I know not
No, I
everybody in the
think I
world is gonna like.
understand exactly what you're saying.
Oh,
It's
okay,
just that you're framing it from a God point of view, where I'd frame it a
yeah,
different way.
okay, okay. So, I prayed and I asked, because I just was so interested. I'm like, what's my name? Like, what's my name from you? And the first three letters, the YUH, like it got like perfectly spelled out, like in like cursive and everything. I was like, that's tough. And so I just kind of kept it ever since.
Fair,
And then
fair
one day I
enough.
was like, universe. I was like, hold on, that's tough. So I just want to give you that
Bro, you
backstory.
was watching
A little.
anime, bro. You was watching anime. Bro, Kevin. It was
Nah.
like you something, you know, like, anyways. Nah, joking, all jokes aside,
Nah.
bro.
It was. You know what's funny though? Like when I looked it up, I was like, that's the one character. What's his name? I know it's you, but what's the name of the anime?
It's like
Keep
you
forgetting.
something. You Hikusho or something,
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
like
So
Yu Yu
one old
Hakusho
school.
or something like that.
One old
And
school
I'm
thing.
pretty sure there's somebody in Yu-Gi-Oh or something, right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, there's like
I
you or
actually hated
Yusei or
Yu-Gi-Oh, bro. I thought Yu-Gi-Oh
yeah.
was so dead, man. It's proper dead.
Nah, Yu-Gi-Oh's
Bro,
tough.
I grew up in that era where it was Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, and Digimon, and they were all competing for that card market. So to me, it was just like,
Yeah,
this is bullshit. It's like
yeah.
consumer bullshit. Like, and of course, I was a little kid, but it's like, this is bullshit because I already knew about manga and anime from Japan. So I was like, this is diluted nonsense, man.
Oh, where are you from?
I'm from the UK. The UK.
Okay, I can kind of tell. I can kind of
But
tell.
yeah, I got
And
an
what's
older
your
brother,
what's your
so
like?
I would have already had all those sci-fi tapes and all that shit. So I was already well informed on manga and anime before Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh.
Mm,
Yeah, but yeah,
before the watered down anime, huh?
yeah, kind of. Well, I mean, shit used to be kind of dark, right? That
Yeah.
it's what's now called I forget the term for it. Not nostalgic, but it's like called classical anime. And you're talking about the tail of the 80s into the 90s. It's called like
Mm,
I forget what the word for it is. But that to me was like the golden era of anime. And, you know, that also gives birth to Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, One
yeah.
Piece off the tail, Bleach off the tail. So they were like the kind of final expressions of that original style. Now it's like internet art. That's the way I
Yeah.
take it to
Definitely.
be.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was you gonna ask me
Yeah,
anyways?
man. Uh, honestly, we started talking about anime, and I just like brain farted. I was gonna actually
Something
ask
about the
you if you
UK.
had any questions, or oh yeah, no, I just want to ask you real quick, like, what's your like your race background, like where's
Oh,
your people from?
so parents from West Indies, but it's a bit
Okay.
complicated in terms of the mixture that they are.
Yeah, I understand.
So
It gets real complicated with my dad because he's African, but he's like first generation because first they went from Africa to like South America to Colombia. So they stayed up. So he mixed with like a little bit of Colombian and all. Yeah, I know
yeah.
that mud blood, man.
Nah, well, yeah, in a way, yes, yeah. In a way, it's their own mating decisions, but they also the
Yeah,
product
yeah,
of history too.
yeah.
So
I mean, I
there's
really
that.
don't believe in like I believe races can mix. I mean, we're all the same thing.
Shit, there's only
Now,
one race anyway.
exactly, it's a human race.
It's only
Like
one race anyway.
I don't believe in all this. Oh, whites can't mate with blacks and Puerto Ricans can't mate with Asians. Like, man, everybody got two arms, 2 feet. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully, you know. So, hopefully,
No offense to anyone out there if you're listening.
you know. But yeah, so I kind of wanted to just ask because I wanted to know because that's very important too when it comes to your walk with God, like where you're from. It's super hard over here in America because everything is just porn, junk food, killing. Like everything's just it's super hard over here to
That's
stay
what they
focused
tell
on
us,
stuff,
but like
man.
you guys have actually like politically you had a chance to do it right. Like for America
Yeah,
becoming a republic that
yeah,
separated itself from like Europe and
yeah.
the governance of what is in Europe still Christendom. Right? America had a
Mm-hmm.
chance to do it right, but
Yep.
religion is poisoning, and you can
It's
see what's
poison.
happening in America with Trump and views about
Oh
theocracy and the
no,
far
what?
right. So you still have a chance to make sure your education, like in the South, I hear there's a lot of people over there fighting against creationism. They're trying to
Mm,
overdub the whole science system in some parts of America in favor of religious teachers. Like what? You not got a chance to stop that shit. You even have in your constitution, I think, that there has to be a separation between church and state. Right? Europe doesn't have that.
mm.
So you don't fuck it off.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Don't like. I think also like just side critique. Obviously, I don't really know in depth, but I feel like because America is so young, it's still
Hmm.
looking at Europe as in we want to be like that version of Europe we hear about from the past, the Greeks, the Romans, conquest and
Hmm.
empire. And I think that's a big mistake. But that's just my opinion.
Huge mistake. No, that's a fact. I don't care. You could oppose it if you want, but that's a fact, man. Like we and I say we because unfortunately I'm over here, but we whatever they I don't know. I don't know how to even say it, but I get what you're saying, man. Like the fact that we even have camps in other countries, but don't nobody else. You know what I'm saying? Like Britain don't got a military base over here. Saudi Arabia don't got a military base over here. So why
No,
are we
I
allowed?
think Britain might have one over there.
We do.
I think they might
Like
do.
we have.
Oh, do you? Yeah, America has bases over here. I
Yeah.
don't know if they have a full-on base, but they train together. America and Britain train together on lots of operations. Like we just sent planes over to help you guys in the war the other day. So
Yeah.
they're very close.
Well, I mean, like for example, like how our military, like they literally will go to another country and shack up and be like, hey, this little piece of land is gonna
Yeah,
be ours.
yeah,
Like it's
that's
just
it.
like
That's it.
who gives you that right? But nobody can come over here and do it. You know,
That's
nobody can
imperialism.
dare do it to America.
That's the point. That's what I'm saying to you.
Yeah, like
So I'm saying
it's
that shit is that is entwined in this whole thing that speaks to humans. Like
yeah.
it's in there, bro.
I get what you're saying.
It's
This,
fucking in there.
you know, I think, in my opinion too, like I've told people this in the past, like this is purposely supposed to be this confusing because it forces us to connect as well. Like if it wasn't
Maybe.
confusing, like yeah, we could all talk about it, but like you kind of wouldn't really feel like talking about it because we already know. We know the answer. Why are we going to talk about something we already know? But this is
True.
so, this whole world and just God's existence, and just how the world works, and just everything is supposed to be this confusing because it forces these conversations, and
Yeah.
then it even forces interactions between people that are, rich, poor, intelligent, maybe not as intelligent. Like all different types of people, black, white, whatever. Like it
Yeah.
forces us to interact and find the answer together.
Yeah. That's the there's a yeah. I'm not even gonna say it, but that's one of the reasons I do what I do. It is
Hmm.
to open the door to the more important aspects.
Yeah.
The religion and the God is very important. It's fundamental to the mind, but because it's so fundamental to the mind, it opens up the door to other things that matter too.
Mm.
That's why the conversations are worth being had to me.
Hmm.
Because we could just debate, we could just like throw analytical arguments at each other all day, but I don't think that's useful.
Right. And you see how the conversation, like it could start, like it started like that, a little bit in the beginning, but how we just started moving into, well, understand how I see God so you can see how he works. And then I understand, you know what I'm saying, the lack of how maybe you feel like he's worked for you.
Yeah,
Or I
yeah,
was
maybe.
able, to, you know what I'm trying to say? Like we're able to see each other's, sides of the coin, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really do appreciate this conversation. Even the fact that and you know what?
Yeah.
This is God itself, and if this
God
doesn't tell
damn.
you this is, hold on, if this doesn't tell you
There you
this
go.
was God, then I don't know. But I literally woke up and I was like, yo, I'm gonna go troll on TikTok live.
Ah. Yeah, fair
And
enough.
the first live I get is this, and I was like, you know what? Instead of trolling, let me actually try to be
Oh.
in a conversation like this, because one day you hope to kind of get people to understand,
So
you
you,
know,
so you
a different
initially
way.
was just planning to be a bad actor initially,
No, not here. No,
like
not with you.
just in
Like,
general, just in general. So you're just
oh
like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Like
let
if
me
I would have
get
saw a
on the
pretty girl,
internet, and
yeah,
be
if I would have saw a
devious
pretty
today.
girl, yeah. If I would have saw a pretty girl, now I would have been like, I would have trolled her. I would have been like, yo, is this the queen? And then the queen of chop? I would have trolled.
Damn.
But
See, that's
the first live I got was yours, and I was like, this is a good opportunity for me to break out of my shell and to try to get in these conversations that you want to be in and learn from. Because at the end of the day, too, I'm not always going to meet somebody who wants to know about God. I'm going to meet people that don't want to know about God, that don't believe in God. Or maybe they're in your standpoint where they're interested. And so I have to be open to talking to this side as well, so that way I can be able to articulate, my story and kind of just get that other person to understand not how to see God, because I'm not trying to push how you should see God, but to see God, period. You know what I'm trying to say?
fair play, bro. Well,
We're all
I acknowledge that.
individuals.
I acknowledge that because as much as I'm doing what I'm doing for my reasons, it's also a platform when other people interact with me. So it goes both ways.
You know, I find it like really dope the fact that I'm telling you, like I woke up, I was gonna be a devious mind on this work.
Oh, there you go. Look, there's God, isn't it?
Rep
Right?
that thing.
Yeah, there's God right there.
And instead, God was like, "Nah, man.
Yeah.
Force yourself to talk about something more productive."
So how do you know
like,
God didn't want you to be devious instead? How do you know you're not going against God by not being devious on this live today?
Because I know that's me. Because I know that devious side was me. I woke up, I got dressed, I did what I did, and I was like, yeah, I just want to troll. You know, I know that was me. But when, for example, when I go to this app to be devious, but then the app actually showed me, not showed me, actually, let me say, it put me in a position to be in this type of conversation instead of a dumb argument, you know, just trying to piss somebody off. I feel like that has to be God. You know what I mean? Like, because
so we're
You said
at
what?
we're at an hour and a half now, just talking to you alone, and I'm kind of tired of streaming now. So,
oh, okay, yeah,
as fun as the conversation has been, it's time for me to go.
yes, sir.
I appreciate everyone that has come on. I know. I saw what you said, Ellie, but you've just not said what you wanted to say. So, but yes, if you did enjoy this stream, feel free to follow. Feel free to like. Feel free to subscribe. But it was nice talking to you, bro. I'm gonna drop you down.
Hey, nice meeting you.
All
You know what I'm saying? Definitely will be popping in, and we'll have some more conversations.
All right. Take it easy, bro.
Yes, sir.